So to begin with, everyone is amazed at the space thrill the pop culture is feeding us. The goosebumps, movies like Star Wars and Avengers induce, and the hype around SpaceX and Blue Origin. The space industry is currently one of the most challenging industries, and to be a part of it is one of the most sought after jobs. But how does one get their dream job in this industry? To answer this and all your queries, the SAIC, along with the research community, brings you an interactive session with our alumni, Mr. Amit Pandey, a 2003 graduate from mining engineering. We'll start with Sir. He'll tell us about this field and his involvement in it, which would be followed by a Q&A round for the audience to get their questions answered. So we request you to make the most of this session, because who better to get your questions resolved from than our very own alumni who are equipped with the expertise that comes with experience. I'll introduce the speaker for today's session. We have with us Mr. Amit Pandey, who works as a staff scientist at Lockheed Martin Space and is also the co-founder of Careerpedia, an online career counseling platform to help all the starry-eyed young aspirants out there. In this session, he'll share the know-how of landing a dream job in the space industry. A very warm welcome to you, sir. I would like to invite you to both guide us into your inspiring journey and how you went from Limdy Corner to Lockheed Martin. And to the audience, we'll have a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to unmute yourself then, or you can put up in the chat box whatever questions that you have, and we'll address those. So over to you, sir.
Okay, thanks, Shubhangi. If you guys can hear me and also can see my screen,
yes, sir. It's perfectly
okay. Okay, thanks. Thanks to everyone, for all of you who have joined this seminar or whatever you want to call it. I think I have two topics here that I want to talk about that I discussed with Yashika and Shubhangi later when we were planning for this seminar. One is about the career, in particular what I have learned so far from my career journey. When I was at your place about 15 years back, what were the questions that I have in my mind, and I was looking for some answers. And the second one is the space, what's going on in space, what are the few things that we are doing at Lockheed, and Lockheed Space in particular with NASA, and some of the new and upcoming things that you will be seeing now, and the opportunities that are out there in general. A lot of the students might have questions about research. I can talk about that too. What I feel about research in particular. So I will start with a disclaimer here, and okay. So the disclaimer, as I said, is these are my views, so please take them as a pinch of salt. Try to draw your own conclusion. You know, my whole idea of giving this seminar is not to preach you guys, because I personally never liked preaching. I was the student who used to sleep when a professor starts to give a lengthy speech, so I don't like that at all. So if I don't like, I don't do that. So make sure that you look at what you like in this seminar, for good for you or not so good for you. Give me your comments, feedback later then, and you know, that would be good for me as I move forward, sharing these ideas with other students. And the other thing, that whatever I have learned, what I'm trying to present here is my experience that I have learned in the last 15 years, interacting with the students, my own experience, my friends, colleagues. You have seen probably the news yesterday that came in about one of our ceramic student, Nandita, who was my colleague actually. She was in ceramic, I was in mining engineering, and she was a CEO at Mantra. You know, I have seen students like me who have grown to become a CEO of a company now. So you can imagine. And also Varun Grover, who is my batchmate from civil engineering, who is the lyricist now. So you know, we have grown together to see these things, and where everyone is now doing very great things. So I'm pretty sure you will down the line road, you guys will be doing the same thing. And just like in our personal life, these are, everyone has his own unique career trajectory. So where I am, you may have a different journey, because as they say in engineering, if you have a different boundary condition, you land up in a totally different result. So everyone has his own career journey, own career path. These are something that I want to share for something that you guys will be inspired, hopefully. And if this COVID pandemic, what I have learned is one thing is you have to be patient. So I'm gonna start with my second slide now, which talks about COVID lockdown may have gone you 4 ways. You may come out as a monk, hunk, chunk, or a drunk. So choose wisely. And actually, it really it's very ironic, because I can label this at when I was in my first year of undergrad, second, third, and fourth year, to be honest with you. So as I said, it gives us, all of you, the time to rethink about yourself, what you want to do, what you would like to do. So I'm pretty sure you guys have made your own conclusion and so forward so far. So as I start my presentation, as I said, it's a mix of the career and research. So you will see slides back and forth. I want to start with one of the projects that I'm heavily involved with, which is the next lunar rover for Moon. And basically, this is the partnership that we are doing with General Motors. And here's a video for that. Hopefully, you guys gonna like it. If you have a audio that you can hear it. So basically, what it is this is the next generation lunar rover, as you guys have seen in some of the Apollo programs, and I have just sent you the link. You can read more about it later also on internet. If you just Google Lockheed GM Lunar Rover partnership. So this is the next generation lunar rover that Lockheed and GM is partnering to design, that will be able to help them to navigate in the lunar surface, whether it's Moon or Mars and so on. So as I said, this presentation is going to talk about what about your career, what are the do's and don'ts. So I created this platform last year on YouTube, a channel basically, which have a bunch of videos about talking to students about their own problems, of their own confusions. Especially with COVID pandemic, I realized that everybody was inside home and looking for answers. Especially it's very unfortunate for students during this COVID, that they are not able to go to the classes and have in-person discussions. So there were a lot of questions about that, what they want to do, what's going to happen in their future and so forth. So I decided to create this channel, and then, as I said, talk about this. Talk about their careers, their own questions, whether you are an undergrad, a master's student, or a PhD student. So that gave me also a chance to interact with a lot of students, what's going on, live, and also during this COVID, it gives me new perspective also. I want to know what's going on these days, because being graduated for so long gave me a chance. So if you guys also have a questions, I have sent you the link of the YouTube channel, and also my email, and LinkedIn is a good way to interact with me. Send me a connection request. If you have any questions on your own later on that you don't want to talk about right now, I can always be more than happy to talk to you. Unless and until it's a very trivial question, I would be, find the time and talk to you and help you out. So let's talk about space exploration and new frontier. What is out there? I'm going to especially talk about the program that we have with NASA on these particular topics. And if you guys hear about, I'm going to talk about a little bit more details, but the pictures that you see on the background are basically the three companies that were given initial contract to design new human lander missions. So it was Dynetics of SpaceX, and then the other one was the national team, which comprises of Blue Origin, Lockheed, and Draper. And I'm going to talk about especially what Lockheed has been doing in this particular top areas. And just to let you know, the new moon mission that is going to come up next. And I'm going to talk about a little bit more details on that. And I think in particular, space is very interesting because it not only has a lot of research and development part in it, but it's also going to decide next space policies. So even if you're if you're not interested in research, let's say, not many students are just, even if you're an engineer, you're not interested in engineering, but the economics part of it, the ethics, the law, the defense, the geopolitics part of it is extremely very important. And that's why space has become so big. If you look at countries, neighboring countries of India, for example, China, how aggressive it is now in putting their people to move to space. Same with European nations, Japan, Korea has launched. India is doing extremely great, I think, in my opinion, and have done in the past. And we have people in Lockheed space that are constantly talking to people at ISRO, talking about some of the new launches and things like that, and a lot of collaborative projects. There are a lot of people who are from Indian origin are working in NASA and have been interacting with ISRO in those particular topics. And so, as I said, I'm going to in particular talk about this space exploration, the new frontier, what is coming. And I think the interesting part I want to tell you, I think I missed that, is you have to understand, I was trained as a mining engineer. And then I started I'm now working for a space company. So what that career has been, what the journey I took has been very interesting. And I remember when I was an undergrad, a lot of people have this skepticism about what is there in mining engineering. And a lot of people were interested about going to computer sciences, taking those branches, whether through grant change or whatever the idea is. I would say, do what you are interested in, and your journey will take you through where you would like or where you want to be. Just don't do it because of the sake that it's going to give you a initial good salary, or there is that you like doing it now, or everybody is doing it, for example. I think there has to be a substance in what you do, what you are interested in. So I would say that whatever you are doing, find interest in it. And I'm pretty sure that if a person like me who has nothing to do with space, I was supposed to work in a coal mine or any type of mine underground, and is working for space, I think you guys can pretty much do much better than that. So as I said, this was 15 years back, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably have a different outfront now. The world has changed in many big ways. You have much more information that we used to have. But I will definitely say one thing is, all those people who thought that, and if I look back, my colleagues also, I would say that everyone is doing great, to be honest. Everybody eventually found their interest and decided to do great. So thinking about whether, whether that, the question that I get a couple of times that, what about my GPA and all that, short term, it does matter. Your first job may help you if you have a good GPA and so forth. But if you see in the long terms, it really doesn't matter. I mean, so we, what I'm trying to say is, invest your time in understanding what you want to do in your life, and go after that, and eventually you will find success. Patience is very important. And as I said, I have a couple of slides further that I'm going to talk about in this topic. And one thing I would say, this is a quote from Frederick, which talks about, for those who were seen dancing but thought to be insane, by those who couldn't hear the music. It happens quite a lot, and it's not like people people judge you because you are thinking something different or you want to do something different. It's just the human nature. And then in some cultures we have a tendency of mocking people. In some we have less, but more or less I would say is, if you decide on something that this is what I want to do, stick with your guns. Many times that person that is mocking you could be your relative, could be your teacher, could be your colleague. But I think most importantly, you have to understand you are smart enough. And trust me, I abide by that much more than anything. I think I learn from students like you much more than you're going to learn from me. You are way smarter than what I am or anybody. So trust in yourself. If somebody doesn't understand something, doesn't mean that you don't know that, or somebody's trying to tell you do this or do that. I would say decide, have faith on yourself. And if you like something, go after it, and trust me, you will be very successful. And the other question I have is, and this applies in all forms, all type of whatever you decide to do. I mean, this is a very good cartoon, and it says it dries the washing using the very latest technology, a combination of solar and wind power. And I think as an engineer, this is extremely important. Engineers are supposed to design good products, fascinating products like iPhone and all that. And you might be doing the same thing in future, but one thing first, common sense is the most important. You don't want to run, I mean, this cartoon depicts about it. So, apply your common sense, whatever you do. If you're trying to write a code, for example, right? And if you think that you can do it, a person can do much easier than what a code can do, I would say go to the other way around. So make sure whatever you are designing or whatever you are doing in your day-to-day life, whether you are designing a product or coming with some idea, that idea has to make our life easier, not tougher. And that's what the engineering is all about. We are trying to make the world a better place, not make it much more complex. So make sure, apply common sense. That's the rule. That's the first basic rule for anything that you're going to do in life. Doesn't matter if you have designed a complex machine learning code and that is giving you much more pain than, as I said, if somebody else is doing. I think the other way is much better. And these are my what my mantra for successful career and my lessons has been, and I stick by them anytime. So if you decide to take them, it's totally up to you. But the first one says that most people overestimate what can they do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. I think a lot of us are very good in planning what we're going to do tomorrow or what we're going to do after a month. But nobody, trust me, no one does it how I'm going to plan what I'm going to do in 10 years. So for example, if you want to be a CEO of a company 15 years down the road, can you plan that out? And that's what this quote is all about. If you can do that, that's awesome, because that's what is more important. I'm not saying don't do short-term planning, but a long-term planning. Because what happens when you do long-term planning is you have so much time. So if I say, hey, I want you to design a next generation heater and dryer tomorrow, versus I'd say 10 years down the road. That's what it is, makes a difference. So 10 years down the road, plan your career short term, but most importantly, long term. Where I want to be when I become 30, where I want to be when I become 35, where I want to be when I become 40, and what I need to do for that. Because that will give you so much ample time. And then, as I said, a lot of us has, I mean, this is again, my experience has been is when we are in undergrad, especially when we go to second year to third year and fourth year, we started living in silos in our own department. There is very less interaction. First year was awesome because everybody talks to each other and all that. But after that, you start to go in your silos. And that also had a disadvantage because then you started believing you know everything. And I would say, look around you. You won't be much different than the 5 people that are your closest friend. You must be the average of those 5. So make them count. And it doesn't mean that you have to, start bashing someone or ignoring someone. It all means is the people who, the 5 people that you're going to be together, that you are with, that's going to share some type of a knowledge or camaraderie. You won't be that different. So try to do that. The third one is the diamonds are made with time and pressure. So there is no magic there. Not everyone can win the lottery. That's the rule. If you want to rise, shine, you have to endure that, wait for your time, and you have to endure that pressure. That's the rule. And I think this is very important from Thomas Watson from IBM. It says, if you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. So many people are, like, for example, you guys have, gave JEE exam. Just imagine how much failures you have been to get that one success. That's what it is. So you guys, for example, if you guys see that, oh, Amit is doing something amazing and where he is, and we wish to be there, because that's how I used to think. But you don't know how many failures I have to endure. And not many people want to talk about failures. And that's what it is. For that one success, you probably have to go down 100 failures. So that's extremely important. And as I said, direction is more than the speed. Many people will want to rush into everything, but remember, if your direction is wrong, you're going to go to the other side. So remember, direction is very important than speed. If you want to go to a point, the speed doesn't matter much more than direction. So just remember that when you make any decision. So from whether you want to go from point A or point B in your career, you have to understand it's a straight line sometimes, and then direction becomes extremely important. Otherwise you will land up somewhere else where you never want to be. So just another video about this. So NASA make this announcement that they want to send another new mission to moon, and the new mission to moon is now called Artemis. It's the Apollo's twin sister. So basically, twin daughter of Apollo. And in 2020, they selected 3 companies to do it. As I said, SpaceX, the Blue Origin national team, which has Lockheed, Blue Origin, and Dynetics, and then you have a Dynetics here. And just this gives you a comparison of the human landers that Apollo had, Dynetics, and the human lander team, and the SpaceX, what's the size and so forth. As I said, these are the systems that will be used to not only for astronauts to live into and their journey to moon, but also to land up in the lunar surface as they launch themselves to the moon. And as I said, it's coming up very soon. So I have another video for that I want to share with you guys. Small one.
The importance of landing humans back on the moon is we're going back in a way that is totally different. We've had almost 60 years of experience, and we're taking every single ounce of experience we have and taking that with our international partners, with our commercial partners.
We've been working for the last year with 3 partners who will help us achieve the next human mission to the moon, because we know that this first step to the moon will then lead us to go to Mars. And we know that the human landing system is one of the first steps to get us there. And so we've been working with Dynetics, a Leidos company. We've been working with Blue Origin, who have partners of Draper, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman. In addition, we've also been working with SpaceX.
This is a very, very exciting time for the Human Landing System program. They've spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over this last couple years getting ready for this moment.
We're really excited to bring you the announcement of who NASA is going to continue to finish out the human landing system and take humans back to the moon. NASA has chosen SpaceX to return us to the moon. I am so excited to partner with SpaceX in this fantastic endeavor for the Artemis suite of missions. So congratulations to the SpaceX team.
SpaceX design is a single-stage solution using their Starship. It provides extensive volume for the crew with 2 airlocks and ample down mass capability. The SpaceX proposal included in-space propellant transfer demonstration and uncrewed test landing.
So now that we've selected our partner, and for the next phase going forward, we have to make sure that the testing occurs, because we're not going to launch humans until we have a successful test. So we will be working to make sure that the design and everything that we have going forward so far is ready to go.
So the human landing system is going to allow us to be able to access different parts of the lunar surface. But it also allows us to explore a new technology and capabilities that will help us when we are trying to figure out our next round of technologies to be able to help us land on Mars or other planets out there.
I'd like to thank the companies for the great work this past year. We've all learned a lot. I'd like to thank the NASA team, because you have definitely risen to this challenge.
It is one more step and an exciting group of steps that will get us to a sustainable human landing system to the moon.
Okay, so as I said, in the start of this presentation, is this NASA contacted 3 companies to prepare a human landing system for their, for their launch and to put a sustainable presence in the moon. And I think last week they. Not last week, but a couple of months back, they selected a SpaceX that's going to be launching those people. But until then, it becomes their technology becomes viable, because there will be a lot of testing and so forth. The Blue Origin national team human lander system will be used to transport the astronauts to the moon and so forth. And that's what in particular I'm going to talk about, what that system would look like, and what are some of the contributions that has been done from Lockheed perspective and our team that has been involved in that proposal. So one thing before I move on, I just want to emphasize one thing. So as I said, you guys are engineers, and most of you will be designing some sort of a product as you move along, whether you go to start working for a company or you're going to have your own startup and so forth. And beside any engineering field, whether it is space, aero, finance, marketing, and so forth, you would be using statistics quite a lot. And the reason why I want to emphasize that much more, because during our time when we were going to school and colleges at BHU, there was not a lot of emphasis in our mind what statistics can do. And I just want to make sure that this goes across to all students who are attending this presentation, is make sure that you guys take the courses in numerical methods, you guys take the courses in machine learning, in data analytics, and it is much more important than ever. Doesn't matter what field you are in. So, I will just give you an example. During this COVID or any time now, Google can predict where and when the next COVID will hit more accurately than any doctors can do. And the part of the reason is because of the tools that Google has. If you are a material science person, this area has made a tremendous progress now than ever by coming up with new materials that can revolutionize all engineering products, spacecraft, batteries, and so forth. If you are a pharma student, this technique has designed better drugs now. And once, whether you're an engineer or a manager, one thing everybody will do is you will, one point of your career or other, you have to come across a point where you have to make a decision. Should I go left or should I go right? And some of these tools have helped everyone, all of us, and to you guys to make those decisions. So make sure that you take those courses if they are offered over there, and if not, take them from outside. As I said, these tools are, irrespective of what branch you are, these tools will immensely help you to enhance your career and your understanding. And one thing I also want to tell you, because we all are a student, but one of our job is also we are a citizen, right? So if you look at the outside world nowadays, how chaotic it is, how much information we receive through our smartphones and so forth, and these tools have been used to either mislead you or misguide you in many ways. So understanding these tools much better is going to help you to make better decisions in that sense also. And the only way you can do it, if you're going to take some deep dive into these topics and do your own research, learn them better, and as I said, it's all starts from knowing very basics, like what's the difference between a mean, mode, and median. So make sure, as I said, take those courses. I think when we grew up in our school life, we have too much emphasis on calculus and so forth. And I'm not saying those are wrong, but I have never used those ever than the statistical tools. So make sure you learn statistics, make sure you learn numerical methods and relate it to it, and try to understand what those tools can do. Because as I said, the better understanding you have on those tools, the better decisions you can make, the new aspect of research you can do. Doesn't matter your field, because these tools are irrespective of what branch you are, what is your interest, and so forth. So it's it will be very extremely important for you to learn. So moving forward, as I said, Artemis mission is the mission that NASA has. This is a new moon mission that NASA will land the first woman and next man on the moon by 2024. So that's the mission. And this is the first mission after the last Apollo 17 mission that landed in December 1972. And it's a collaborative between the commercial partners, as you saw, and the international partners, whether it's a European Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, Indian Space Agency, and so forth. And we will use what we learn on and around the moon to take the next giant leap, that is sending astronaut to Mars. So this moon mission is different than what we have in Apollo, where we went there, we grabbed some rock samples and we came back. This is the next launch for Mars. So that's the reason why it is so important to get into the moon, because moon will act like the gas station or the exit for Mars. So we have to do a sustainable presence in moon this time than just going there and coming back. And when somebody says you have to live in the moon, that's become very challenging. How would you do it? and what are the challenges associated with it. And numerous people and some in India too are working in this particular area. And that's why moon becomes very important. One thing I want to tell you also, that why it is so important for anybody now than ever to go to the moon. I don't know whether you guys, if you guys were not born, but if you look at 90s, the dot-com boom that we have, where suddenly there were so much companies pop up. And we saw that they came like crazy, and it was a boom, internet boom, you can say. And I think now I can tell you for sure that the next thing that I see in my career now is this space boom, where everyone wants to do it. And part of the reason is because the space economics. Everybody is thinking to mine the minerals and things in the moon. It could be because of the security reasons also, but if you Google it, every meteor has a price now, $1 trillion. So you can imagine, right? For example, the China right now holds the biggest reserve of the rare earth materials, which are being used in all electronics that you can imagine. And without that, we are nothing. We can't do anything. Our phones, our cars, everything needs those materials. And that's why it becomes very, very important, extremely important than ever. And whoever goes first has probably the right to say that this is, this place is mine, or this particular meteor is mine. And as I said, if you go to internet, just Google it, price of meteor, you will find that people have priced them $1 trillion and so forth. So there's a huge space economy right now that is running on that. And as I said, the first one to go there will have it. And that's why it becomes so important, other than the geopolitics. So, as I said, the Artemis mission is different than the previous Apollo mission, because this time we want to have a sustainable program. That means we are there to stay. We are not there to go and come back. We are there to stay, and which will have an even lunar outpost. That means we have people who will be living there permanently this time, and permanent human presence at the south pole of the moon. And there is a reason why we say south pole of the moon, because we have found that there's a sustainable amount of regolith and ice sheets there that can be used for ISRU missions that I'm going to talk next. So as I said, this is a human lander system designed by the national team, and they basically 3 companies are participating on it: Lockheed, Blue Origin, and Northrop Grumman and Draper. And everyone is designing his own thing. So Lockheed Martin is responsible for the Ascent mission, Blue Origin for descent element, Northrop is for transfer element, and Draper is for avionics and GNC. And this is what it looks like. You have the Ascent element, which is basically a crew module and service module, which we also call Orion spacecraft. And I'm going to talk space. So this becomes very important, because this is where the astronaut is going to live. And also this is important because that's where they're going to come back to the surface of the Earth, just like Apollo. And then you have a descent module and integrator. That's what Blue Origin job is. This is what's going to land up in the space of the moon. And then you have a transfer element designed by Northrop Grumman and Draper, which is responsible for the software and flight avionics and guidance system. So, as I said, this is just telling you the trajectory of the lower lunar moon orbit. So you have a separation of the transfer element here, and then you have a ascent element and the descent element perform landing at the south pole of the moon, and then the ascent element shoots off, leaving behind the descent element in the surface of the moon. Let me restart it. Yeah, so basically, some of us, if you guys looked at this, the video, you would have seen um, some of the heat shield that was designed. That was one of our role actually here, designing the new heat shield that can survive the re-entry, because you generate such a high temperature at the shield that that can you know um, that can create issue with the longevity of the people that are in the aircraft. So that was one of our roles as we move forward. But let me quickly talk about the Artemis mission here, since we're going to be out of time. But Artemis first is coming up, as I said, the launch date is February 12th on Saturday next year. So keep that date in your mind. That the first mission to moon. This is auto mission. Basically, there will be no humans, and it talks about the mission duration and what will be the re-entry speed. Re-entry speed, basically, it is when the Orion, as you see here in 18, when the Orion is gonna re-enter the surface of the Earth. This diagram you can find on internet. If you Google Artemis 1, it basically talks about the launch, and also it's going to talk about what it's going to do in the moon. So basically it's going to orbit the moon a couple of days, and then it's going to come back. This is just the first mission we are calling it. They are calling Artemis 1 mission. The SLS will be used to launch this from the Kennedy Space Center. And if you, as I said, if you're going to Google it, you can find what is the updates there right now. I think they are putting that together as we speak. And so the Orion module that you see here is being made by Lockheed Martin Space, and has been delivered to them for Artemis 1. And then Artemis 2 is going to come on May 2024. That's the date they have right now, which will be a crew module, just like Apollo 7, 8, 9, or 10. So basically, they're not going to land on the surface of the moon, but they will be orbiting the moon, do some re-entry, burn test, and all that, and then came back on the surface of the Earth. And it will have 4 astronauts, about mission duration for 10 days. And this just talks about the mark. Just want to let you know that this, as I said, this particular Artemis 2 mission is very similar to, as I said, Apollo 7, 8, 9, and 10. And the 11th is the one which helped us. And then you will have the crew which going to land on the surface of the moon is due for 2025, which is called Artemis 3 right now. And this diagram just talks about what they're going to do, the land and so forth, and the other future missions are Artemis 6 to 9. And this module is a little different because this is the first time NASA is planning to have first woman on the moon, and that crew with that crew. And I think there are 20 astronauts that is being trained right now, and being prepared for that. So the next slide is a little bit more a cumbersome slide, but I want to talk about, as I said, remember when I initially said this time we are there to stay. So this is the GATEWA configuration. So GATEWA is just like an International Space Station that's going to be orbiting the moon. And this GATEWA has, as you can see, the Orion is going to stick to it. So basically what it is, it will act as a transit to the moon. So people can go to the moon, do experiments, and come back and stay on this module and so forth. So that's the reason I said what you're going to do when you're going to stick to the surface of the moon and stay there and do your experiments and come back. So we'll have a permanent presence on the ISS as we speak. So humans will be coming back and forth from the Earth. They can through in living in this service module, and then you will have a couple of team members, just like an International Space Station, going to stick to the stay on this getaway that they are calling, and do their experiments and back and forth. So as I said, the one thing that is very important here that I want to talk about now, which Elon Musk does talk about, he says making what are we doing here? So we are saying he always talks about making human a multi-planet species. So the question really comes here is, what are the challenges that we will be facing as we decide that we want to stay on the moon? What are those challenges will be? And that's what the crux of the whole problem here is. And this is one term here that everybody should Google it if you're interested in space research right now. It's called ISRU, Institute Space Resource Utilization. And basically what it means is, so just think of how are we going to generate food, power, electricity? Are we going to take all that fuel from Earth? So that's not possible, right? So how are we going to survive? Survivability, right? Oxygen, how we know where the oxygen will come from, and so forth. So this is where this ISRU research becomes very important. So the whole idea is that this time when we go on the moon, we're gonna explore the moon. So think of when the first human, let's say if somebody decides to put on the place where there's very less habitat, or think of Earth right now. So what the first thing that humans would have done, right? So they would have done exploration. They would have done excavation or mining, right? You want to mine the minerals. That minerals will help you to make tools. That minerals will help you to generate oxygen. That minerals will help you to generate power, just like we do in Earth, right? And then water. Where the water will come from? Where the water supply? How you drink it when you have so many people, right? So the water becomes a thing. And then the most important thing is then that energy that you're going to generate, where are you going to store it, right? Do we have a hydropower stations there? Because I mean, there is no water, right? So where the electricity will come from? And there are some parts of the moon which are dark, so you can't have solar as a viable solution. So where the electricity will come? Are you going to put nuclear power plants there? Or are you going to do something else? What that would be? The whole distribution management system becomes very challenging. And the most important thing, as I said, the whole idea of being in the moon is because we want to go to the Mars. So moon becomes our entry point, just like a gas station, right? You want to run from Delhi to Bombay. You want to stop somewhere in Indore or Bhopal to fill up your gas in your car, right? And that's what it is. The moon will be the gas station. So what that source of energy would be, where it will come from, all these questions are being answered by this particular topic called ISRU, where the whole in situ means where you are using the resources from there, because there is no way we can fill up our tank of our rockets and then go to the Mars and come back. Not possible. We can't have huge rockets like I mean, if you guys have a idea about how much the weight that launch takes, it almost like 90% of the weight of the Orion module. So just imagine how it's possible to come back. So as I said, and most importantly, what we want is the permanent presence. If you guys have watched that movie Martian, I think, and that movie talks about the guy was growing potatoes there. So this is what it is all about, and that's what is going on, the whole research part of it. And that's why mining becomes very important now. So a lot of my work has been involved now. How we gonna do lunar mining? Though I left mining a long time back, right? So that's what I talked about when I said is suddenly there's a space company looking for mining engineers, and mining becomes such a hot commodity suddenly, because anything you do in the world, you have to first dig into and get into mine. So if you guys, some of you are mining engineers there listening to this, just imagine the challenges that a low gravity environment will put up if you decide to mine something, what that problem would be. If you guys are electrical engineer there, Just imagine what are the challenges that a power plant can bring in. How would you take care of the distribution? If you are an electronics engineer, just imagine how would the normal electronics can survive that high extreme temperature heat. What type of platform that would you use to print your electronic circuits? Some of the work that is being done on silicon nitride and so forth is being done right now. But one of the biggest challenge for us right now is moon does not have shields, so irradiation can damage our electronics. How would you protect that, right? If you are a biomedical student, just imagine what the low gravity for that long period of time can does damage to our bones, right? How would it affect our health? And if you are interested in money, just imagine how much money that lunar surface would have and can generate. What is the amount of what is the logistics that's going to take place to create that wealth and to distribute it and things like that. So, as I said, it's go across. If you're interested in law, the space laws are being generated now, because nobody knows. It's not like Earth, right? I know that I want this island or that island. Who owns the moon, right? So that new space laws are being generated now. So as I said, space research, in my opinion, goes beyond everything. It spans across every field. Doesn't matter what you are in, what your interest is about. So I think that's why I think space research or this whole area put all of us together, and we need to, as I said, this is not just one person. If you are a computer engineer or mining engineer or a pharmaceutical engineer or a metallurgist, doesn't matter. We need everyone to participate here, and this is the huge deal for all of us. And those who are involved in these projects can imagine how challenging it will be. It's just not one person's job. It's an extreme leap towards that. So, and the most important thing that what we need is we need leaders who can propose these ideas, who can take risks. And that's what my second to last slide is going to talk about. I think one of the good things that university does is it really does a good job in creating engineers, but does it create leaders? Leaders are the one who change the world, not engineers. You can be an engineer, but if you're not a good leader, you're not going to change an organization or a school or your surroundings or anything. So make sure, this is a very ironic cartoon, but this is the fact of the life, that not all of us are not everybody wants a change, but if you tell them, do you want to lead it? Everybody backs out. And I think that we as a student, we as a human need to change this culture. We should be part of that change. We should be taking steps. We should be taking initiative. And trust me, all the people I talked about so you can imagine, right? For example, in our when we graduated, we had 400 students, right? How many of them before us or after us are going to be on the top of the top? Only few, not 400, maybe 2 or 3. But then you go back and look at who are those people. Those are the people who took initiative, not those are people who got good GPA. So understand that is a fact, that those are the people who are taking initiative, who wants to part of the change, are the ones who goes on the top. Everybody is intelligent. You can't say I am more intelligent than you. Your GPA it's just, this is one of the multivariant problem here, that GPA probably accounts to 2% of what you are. Rest 98% is defined by something else. And some of the things is most important is your personality. How good your initiative, how can you manage people. So those are much more important than anything. If you are a part of a cricket team, or if you're part of Kashi Yatra, or if you're a part of your technics, I don't know what you call your technical festival now, but organizing that is just a big deal. And as I said to you, is be a part of a change, no matter what it is. And that's very, very important. And I will close with I think this is my second slide, but as I said, also don't judge yourself, because the world is not fair, right? This cartoon tells the same thing. It tells everyone is the one who's going to climb the tree will probably get the top marks. So maybe you are not getting good marks doesn't mean you are bad, or you are not doing good doesn't mean you are bad. Maybe you're good at something else. So try to figure that out, what that would be. And I'm doing the same. I keep doing the same. What I want to do doesn't matter. If you look at my career trajectory, I went to do undergrad in mining, but then I went to do my master's in civil, and then I did my PhD in mechanical, and then I did my postdoc in materials. It's all the time I was thinking what I'm enjoying the most, what I want to do. So whatever I liked, I start doing. Doesn't matter. And you guys can do the same. And as I said, this is just engineering, but a lot of people you will end up going to management school, or will start their own startups, or probably go to civil services, or whatever you choose, right? It doesn't matter. So this is what it is all about. Life is not fair. It doesn't mean you are doing bad here, that you are not going to be successful. All you need to do is figure it out what you are good at. And the day you will do that, you will be on the top of the game. And this is the last slide, as I said. This talks about perspective. Have a positive perspective. That your brain tells you the way your brain is going to react, or you think, that's how you're going to react. So make sure you have a right perspective. And the most important perspective is to help someone. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm a very competitive person, and if you speak to my batchmates, they will realize that they probably may not have a good saying about me, that they think Amit was very competitive at his time, or whatever it is. But doesn't mean that you can't help someone. Being competitive is different, but being helpful is different. If somebody is seeking help, help him. Whether it's a help with the personal issue is going through, a mental issue is going through, or anything, help them. Jokes apart, we all joke all the time, but if somebody's really looking for help them, and don't just judge people based on how they look, how they react, or something. And as I said, because that's going to define you much more than anything. So have a positive perspective and do good in life. And then if you get a chance to help someone, help with your time. So with that, as I said, I'm going to open with the questions. But as I said, I made the slide very, very light. I apologize for the inconveniences that happened in between. But I just don't want to give you a long, boring, lengthy lecture. But my idea was to give you what is going on, what I feel researches, and what my lessons are there as I struggle through my own careers also. So with that, thank you very much. And let's, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very informative session. Our audience here has some questions, and we'll be grateful if you could acknowledge them. So may I put them forth from the chat box? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a question in the chat box that how difficult or easy it is to get a job after a PhD. Because being an Indian in US, like, did you feel that there was a glass ceiling that you couldn't cross with your career?
The answer will be no. As I said to you, if you're good, nobody can stop you. Trust me. So there are, don't read news too much, right? And as I said, just to give you a statistics, right? Every year, alone from India, I believe like 20,000 students come, right? And everybody does great. I don't see why. I mean, you have to understand if you are in a certain topic, and if you are doing good, there's no stopping. As far as I concerned in US, because that's where my most of the education has been and professional career had been. I can't talk about India, but in US, I have never seen anybody who is good is being stopped for some reason. There might be outliers here and there, 2 or 3 examples, and they might have their own story. But in general, I'm talking about there is no ceiling here. If you are good in dancing, you can find your career. If you are good in singing, you can find your career. If you are good in making amazing product, you can start your own company here. If you are really good at it, a person like me who came as a Indian citizen and then started working with Lockheed, is I don't know very few people. I actually, to be honest with you, I don't know anyone who, because some of these companies don't hire Indian citizens. So you have to understand, like, if you're really good at it, I have not found any issues in US. I can't talk about other countries, but in US, definitely not. But be good at it.
Right, so along the same lines, I guess there's another question in the chat box that they've heard that SpaceX only recruits Americans or the people who are green card holders. So is something like that true for Lockheed Martin as well?
Yeah, that question is right. You have to be a US citizen to be recruited for all the companies who works on defense projects or with government within US. They won't hire you if you are not a US citizen, not alone green card. So you have to be a US citizen.
Right, so another question is, like, what were you working on before the Artemis mission that came along?
So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, so once I graduated after my PhD, I started working as a postdoc at Johns Hopkins, and then I worked at Oak Ridge National Lab. So my background was material science and engineering. That's what I enjoyed the most, no matter what it is, what material it is. So I started working on high temperature materials, and characterizing them, testing them, and so forth. And then my first job in industry was I started working with Rolls-Royce, working for fuel cells. If you know what fuel cells is basically an electrochemical device that converts, hydrogen or methane to electricity, if I have to say in a nutshell. So fuel cells are huge. So if you know, and this is one of the biggest area of research right now, both batteries and fuel cells, those are different things. And you can see battery operated cars now, fuel cell operated cars, like Tesla and other fuel cell operated cars now, because they give low emission, and also these are electric cars too. So they don't have combustion, you don't burn fuel, they are electrochemical devices, so the pollution is less. So the whole world is talking about greenhouse effects and so forth. So they are very important topics. So that's what I spend most of the time. So for 7 years, and then I briefly had a startup with one of my friend at Air Force Base here in Ohio, where I live. And then about 2 years back, I saw this opportunity and got started working here at Lockheed.
Right, thank you so much, sir. The next question is, someone wants to know the scope of space mining. Like, they've heard that the Colorado School of Mining offers a minor course in the same field. Like, would you recommend looking into similar
Oh yeah,
courses?
absolutely. Actually, I work with Colorado School of Mines in their space. So they have a special, I think, division on space mining or lunar mining or something they call it. And there are some professors that I work closely with actually last with some projects, and actually Colorado School of Mines works very heavily with Lockheed Space because our space headquarters in Denver. And I think it's a phenomenal school, a really good school. If you want to go and work there, you will work with some of the amazing topics. Actually, next week we have a ASCEND conference. This is like aviation conference, a space aviation conference, ASCEND, ASCEND. And we have invited a couple of professors from there to give a speech and talk about lunar mining basically, and what they're going to do and all that. So definitely, if you're interested in it, get in touch with me later. I can introduce you to some professors and help you out. But definitely a good school. I did not get a chance to go there, but it's a very sought after school. And they are also very good in conventionally, they are really good in metallurgy also. So they do a lot of good work in metallurgy. But if you're looking for space, lunar mining research and all that, I think that's #1 in my opinion right now. Just not only that, because our proximity with Lockheed, because they are very close. It's like probably 45-minute drive to each other. So yeah.
Another question is, like, what is your general advice for us if we want to work in the space agencies? Which means that which courses to take, what path should one follow, and should we go for MS or apply for some companies?
I would definitely advise you one thing. So one of the things which I saw, I think 1 month back, that Modi, the Prime Minister of India, he announced this um, um, private partnership now, where they are thinking of a division of ISRO that will work as a private enterprise. And they were, I briefly listened to it, and there were folks from space companies from India, startups were there. And there are, I know there are like 3 or 4 or 5 startups in India working in the space technology. I think guys should, if you guys find internship there, I would strongly recommend that. Definitely, no doubt. I mean, one thing you have to understand, all of you guys, just to let you know, and this is quite a bit of a frustration, is a lot of people want to say, hey, can I come to Lockheed and work there as an intern and all that? It's not going to happen. So don't waste your time in doing something which is not possible just because of the nature of the work and your citizenship. And you can make it happen like I did. That's a separate story. But what I'm saying, that if you're really interested in something, do that first, right? So and then find out professors in IIC Bangalore or IITs or someone that are working in these lunar problems. Try to find it out, who are those people who are responsible in ISRO, working in ISRU topics and so forth, and figure that out. I mean, we did that. I mean, our first internship in those days were at IIC Bangalore, where nobody used to go that time, and we learned quite a lot. I think that was my interest towards research. Those 1 month was amazing. And I just didn't mention one thing. Find in your school, find a mentor, find a professor that can guide you. It might be rare, but find someone, because that has helped me tremendously. I had a professor in mining engineering that helped me quite a lot at that time. And he's now a director at IIT Patna, T.N. Singh. But I owe everything to him where I am, because he's the one who shaped my career. And as I said, you need a mentor at your stage. That mentor could be anyone. If it's a professor, you might be lucky. But if it's not, find someone who can mentor you, who can guide you, what you're doing wrong or right. I do that all the time. I have mentors in my company, Lockheed, who are vice presidents and directors and so forth. And I talk to them, hey, I'm trying to think this, is I wrong or right? Because what a mentor does, it stops it. Your number of failures become less. Remember, I talked about, if you want to be successful, you have to fail, but you want to fail 100 times or 10 times. The mentor really can help you to reduce those failures, and then you accelerate very quickly. So try to do that. Find a mentor. I haven't talked about that, but I can't emphasize you more than enough, like how important mentorship is. And a lot of people are shy away with that, what he's going to think, what she's going to think, and all that. And then it's all done. I never shy away. If I have a question, I don't care who you are. I'm going to ask you, and I want an answer. So my attitude is like that, and yours too. And don't think you're too smart, because you're out of, I don't know how many students you are one of them, and then multiplied by number of IITs, just IITs, and that many students are there, and everybody's good. So trust me, don't overthink too much, and take initiative and right jump on that. So if I was you, my only advice to you right now is find a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, just like your family doctor, which checks health checks up on you. If you are sick, you go to him, right? Mentor is like your career doctor, basically. If you don't have a mentor, you're going to lose out big way. All those people whom you see are successful, they don't, it just not every time there's a luck there. Luck does matter. No, I'm not saying that, but mentor can really help you. So find a mentor, go after it, and your career will be amazing. Otherwise, you will be one of those people working something in a company and making money. And I'm not saying that bad too, but if that's what you want, it's totally up to you. Yeah.
Another question is, what would be your master tip to build a space tech company as great as SpaceX in India? And a follow-up would be, what are your views on the newly emerged space industries like Agnikul Cosmos or Bellatrix, etc.?
Yeah, I would say if I understood your question correctly, can you repeat the question again? Be mastered.
The person wants to ask,
Okay.
like, what would be your master tip to build a space tech company as great as SpaceX in India?
Mhm.
And a follow-up is, what are your views on the newly emerged space industries like Agnikul, Cosmos, or Bellatrix?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I think quite a lot. If I have to build a space company, what should I do? So I would definitely tell you one thing is either you have to be really smart like Elon Musk, right? Where you, so one thing first, that anything you do in your career, like it requires capital. So you have to think about it, where the capital is going to come from. And the second thing, what product you have. Idea has no meaning. It has to have a shape. I have a lot of ideas to go to the moon, but who cares, right? I have to have some rocket which can show people that is going to launch. So I will ask you, do you have a product, or it's just an idea? Because the idea has no meaning. You have to have a product. I mean, even if you look at the SpaceX, if you look at the whole journey of the SpaceX, right? Elon Musk, when he starts to get the money, he spent his own money. He has an idea. Then he went to Russia. He said, I want to buy a rocket. They said, it's going to cost you 30 million. He's like, hell no, I'm going to get my own. And he got something. He started making his own thing. But where the money came from? Because his pocket. If your parents are filthy rich, that's fine. Other than that, you need capital. So just to let you know that somebody, even in those companies, they were able to generate that capital with a product. So either you have a product or have a capital. Where you have a product, you can go to Anand Mahindra and say, hey, this is a product. These are some of the initial results that I have, and see it looks fine. Would you like to invest in our company or show some results? Because nobody is going to pay you a single dime if you don't have results. So I would bet all these companies either had a product or either had some sort of a backing from wherever. I don't see other way around, to be honest with you. So if you have a product that you are able to figure it out, because in initial days, Elon Musk used to sleep in his office. He didn't have money to even rent a hotel, and let alone any company. That's how it works. So capital, not an idea, a product is very important. And so that's what I'm saying, participate in these techniques and all that, and try to design some product. Because one of the things I have realized during my engineering days, at least, we engineers in India, we have all the great ideas. But if I tell you, can you design a small pen? I would say 95% will fail, 99 probably. And that's where the true engineering lies. How much time did you spend in your first year in the carpentry shop, in the welding shop? Do you know how to weld? If you don't know how to weld, then you have to hire someone to weld it. Then you have to pay him. Where the money is going to come from? So you have to cut the cost, right? Either you have to be extremely smart. I mean, this guy Elon Musk. I mean, just read about him. He can do anything he wants. You can imagine anything. You can ask him to weld. He will weld. Probably he knows how to weld too. That's how you generate wealth. So either you can hire people and distribute your wealth, and because in the beginning you don't have money, right? So that's what I'm just saying, that participating in these techniques and all that, and make something. Even if you make a small drone and make it fly, but make it from the scratch, not like buy from this. You will learn tremendous. And then the second steps come from, if you have a product, how to take it to market, how to generate capital, how to talk to someone who has the money and says, hey, you want to invest. So that business idea that came into. So this is extremely important exercise. And I don't know whether BHU has what they call an incubator, but most of these days I know like Bombay, Roper, IITs, they have an incubator.
We do so. We have an incubator.
Yeah. So if you have an incubator, try to seek their help then. Yeah.
So another question is that considering that most of the fields in research are interdisciplinary, it is difficult to explore all the streams of research that a branch has to cover. So how does one know which field is correct for them, or in which field should we go for higher studies?
I don't know if is there any professor who is attending it, but my question to is that to them. I mean, the one of the biggest problem I see in general in education in India, we have created these silos. As I said to you, mining, civil, mechanical, computer, and they don't interact. I mean, this is something that has to do with the education. That's what I have felt. I think nowadays the world is the education has to be interdisciplinary. Why a mining engineer cannot learn computer sciences? Why a mining engineer cannot learn robotics? What a computer engineer will do alone if he or she is not interacting with someone who is making Tesla? What the code will do? You need to know all those knowledges because everything nowadays is interdisciplinary. You think of a Tesla, right? You need a battery. The battery is run out of some chemicals, that cathode, anode, and electrolyte. That means you need a chemical engineering information, how you are charging and discharging that electricity is being generated and going to generators. That is electrical engineering problem. And then you are putting that battery out there so that doesn't heat up, and you have to take care of the thermal management. That is a mechanical engineering problem. And what anode cathode you would like to use, which will give you best performance. That's a material science problem. And then that Tesla has to run autonomous, that Tesla has to have sensors. That's totally electronics problem, that everything nowadays has to run through some sort of a code, because everything has become is just not a mechanical device, it's a smart device. So it's become a computer problem. And then you put all these things together and they have to talk to each other. A battery has to talk to an electronic system. How would you do that, right? So that's what I'm saying is, like, the problems has become interdisciplinary if you want to design amazing product, like anything. If you just want to design a 1940 ambassador, of course you don't need anything. But that's a question I have with the schools. What are they doing? Bringing these courses together and putting these students together and having a discussion among them. Like, so in general, I would say, like, I talked about few professors on that part, is like, for example, space research. If you open up, you think one one department can do alone anything? Nothing. You might be able to find a problem and solve it, but if you want to put together that as a product, you need everyone there, everyone. And that's why it is extremely important to have information about that. And as I said, you guys are too early in your phase of your career. Try to read about it. I would say, start by reading the biography or autobiography biography of Elon Musk. You will probably learn quite a lot of different areas. The guy does everything, right? The space and cars and everything, and then the Neuralink and whatnot, Boring Company. Read about that. So in your stage, I would say, don't focus yourself on one particular area unless until you like it so much. I would say explore yourself. Try to do everything and try to fail. This is the time where, let me put it this way, if you're playing a safe game at your age right now, you're doing a huge mistake, because after you turn 40, you can't afford mistakes. Fail. If you're not having failures right now, it's the biggest mistake. And I can't emphasize to you that much more enough than anything. You guys need to fail right now, and the school doesn't do a good job in doing it. And that's the sad part. They allow you a free pass to pass your exam, and when I say fail, I didn't mean fail in your class grade. I mean in challenging problems. I mean if you are, trust me, and you guys will agree with me, is what time you face the biggest challenge in the last 4 years. Maybe when you gave your JEE exam. After then, what was challenge? Everything was a piece of cake. So there is no, school doesn't offer you that challenges. So what do? Create your own challenges then. Put yourself into that frame and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And put yourself into that path. Passing a school or passing is nothing. You will pass it eventually. So challenge yourself, figure out your own. If school doesn't offer, go to internships, go to talk to people. This world is so great now that you can talk to people in Zoom now. In our cases, when we were at your stage, internet just came. Actually, my first email was created when I was in the first year of undergrad. So world has changed. So I don't think there has to be a complaint now. There are so many courses now online that you can just, read and study, free courses, tutorials on YouTube. I don't think people should complain now. There are so much things that you can do if you're really interested. So, yeah.
Aditya wants to ask that what is the role of quantum physics in space technology, and is there any scope for quantum theorists there?
Yeah, I mean, quantum computing. Everyone who want to run, do that. That's first thing comes to my mind. Actually, I'm not. This is not my area, but I can tell you, computation, like computers. If COVID has taught us anything, is about the how we are going to work on this environment. I mean, even like for say this 5G network we talk about, right? The more data transfer, the high computational power. I mean, think of a satellite that you're going to launch, and how much data it's going to generate, right? And how much time is going to take to understand what that data means. Do you want it in 10 minutes or you want it to in 10 days? This is, so I think that's like huge. I mean, no doubt. And that's a very trivial question, but.
Thank you, sir. So when you mentioned product ideas, like what did you mean in the context of space technology? And can you give us some examples of a product idea in that context?
A product idea, I mean, like, for example, if you're going to go to space, right? I'm going to give you very, very clear example. What the burger would look like. Can you create food, beverages when somebody's in space? How would a person, a very, very NASA spend so much money? What will be the toilets is going to look like when you're going to go to the space? Because that's the biggest problem that you have to solve in space. And so NASA just announced breakthrough ideas. Actually, Bill Gates, Melinda and Gates Foundation does a lot of work on that. How do you recycle the waste? A product idea could be as simple as that, as there's in the 3 Idiot movie. What is the pen is going to look like when you go to space? Anything that you can think of. That is, so here was to have to understand. When I say we have to go to moon, you are talking about a person living in the moon. So just think now for a minute, you from time to wake up, you don't care about where the water is coming from, right? How it's, who is doing it. You brush your teeth, right? And you go through your daily activities. You don't care about the cell phone network, where the cell phone network is going to the moon. Just Google it. NASA just gave a contract to Nokia, designing a 4G contract in moon. What that would look like. So, as I said, anything that you imagine, it's like unlimited. At least you know where to start from, because we have lived in Earth for so long time. But anything that you can think of, designing from a car, what will the car look like? Because moon brings a new challenge. You don't have oxygen. You don't have, half of the moon doesn't have sun. So there's no heat, you live in the dark, then you have no food, then you have low gravity. I mean, now just imagine everything that you do, from drinking coffee to running computers to driving cars to even communication. Like there is no vacuum, right? How you communicate? Everything has to redesign. So.
Right, someone asked a very interesting question, like in which time frame do we expect a fully functioning city on Mars?
I can't tell you that, but I think if you ask me the progress, I think it's SpaceX is the only person that can give you that answer is Elon Musk, because he's the one who is driving that whole thing. I don't know if you ask me how, I mean, when will we will launch the first person to moon, but I'm very sure that in my lifetime I will see that happening. The moon mission is coming up. I think it's all depends on the Starship that is designed by Elon Musk, and what it does, its performance. He's already talking about in next 2 years he will be launching people to moon. So that Starlink is holds all the key, because that's the holy grail of going to Mars, to be honest with you. And so we have to keep an eye on what he's doing, because most of the other companies, whether it's the Virgin Atlantic or Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, they are suborbital. They're not orbital. So on the only person that is doing is the SpaceX. So we have to watch the performance and how fast it is progressing. But as I said, in his lifetime, he's expecting that will happen. So for sure, in your lifetime, for sure. I don't know whether you know that there's a person, Japanese guy, who already paid a trip to Mars and things like that. So I would say in next 10 years, I'm hoping there will be a trip to Mars, but maybe that will come after that, when you start living there and so forth. There's a interview by Elon Musk just happened last month at a Codex conference. Listen to that interview, what he's saying. So that might have a good answer. If you Google on, if you look on YouTube, Elon Musk interview, the latest one, that is there, Codex. He talks about how well they are progressing.
Right. So someone wants to know that, having been in 2-3 different streams of engineering, did you picture yourself working in industry related to space? Like, did you have a 10-year goal like that?
I knew that I want to do something different. Right. And this, remember when I said about, because I was a student with an Indian passport. So definitely that was unrealistic for me to do that, because a lot of has to tied up with what is going to come and how that progresses. So I would say one thing I will tell you, one thing I didn't mention here is you will often come across when you go to your placement also, that some of you guys might have no jobs. Some you guys might have 2 offers. Some you guys might have 0 offers. And some guys might have, oh, should I take the job and should I go to masters? This is the common question that you will have. I don't think, and you will follow in any other category. You will find doing one of those. But the question really comes, how would you make that decision, right? How would you decide, no, I should go to US and do PhD versus joining a job in IBM or whatever, and looks very lucrative? How would you decide, no, I should start my own startup because I have this just really great idea, versus joining a company, because that's a risk? How would you decide, oh, should I go for an MBA or should I go for a master's? Because a lot of students talk to me about that. As I said to you, a couple of things, that it all gonna depend on what your interest is. And that's what this 4 years is all about. What are you loving? What your interest is? What are you enjoying the most? If you are able to identify that in that 4 years, your job is very easy. Or, as I said to you, if you have a good mentor that can help you to figure that out, to understand you. And mentorship is not like a one-day job, because the mentor had to understand you too, just like a doctor, right? So interact with that person on a regular basis, so that that person can give you a good advice, saying that, although you are saying that you should go for a PhD, but I have been speaking with you for 6 months, and my feeling is, if you go for an MBA program, you might be a good person, you might be a good CEO, but not a CTO in future, because you have this, I have feel that you can take decision, and that I have found very fascinating. You can't see that, but that person can observe you and give you that advice. That one advice will change your life. So as I tell you, that's what you need. Because what happens is, like, for example, when we are in schools, right? Who makes that decision? Your parents, right? Your parents make that decision. Like, okay, you guys need to go engineering, you guys go to doctor, or we make that decision based on our surroundings. We are biased in some way. But this is the first time you guys are going to make your own decisions without anybody's help. That's your, like, that first decision, you are in charge now. So think of a 20-year-old who is inexperienced and has given the most important task of his life, right? So to me, that is very unfair also. But at the same time, I think most of the time school does a good job in identifying people, but unfortunately in India, we don't do that. So you have to find a ways to do that. You have to figure that out. I was lucky enough, as I said to you, that I have a mentor while I was in college and where I am. So I owe my debt to that person who is a director at IIT Patna right now, T.N. Singh. But not everyone has that. And then later in your life, you realize that, oh, I should have done that, or I should not have done that. So
someone here wants to ask that they're aware of the ITAR rules regarding only providing employment to green card holders, citizens in sectors like aerospace and defense in the US. So considering that a dual degree student wants to get into the aerospace sector, but doesn't intend, but they don't want to pursue a PhD. Is there any way to do so?
yeah, you can do masters. I don't know if that answers your question, but you can. There are a lot of people who come to do masters in aerospace engineering. If you don't want to do PhD, I don't know what your question is, but
Can I follow up on that?
sure, Priya.
So, after doing a master's, like given that till you don't have citizenship, generally companies do not consider you for any position. So then, after doing a master's in the US, like what kind of job prospects would there be? Because a lot of these companies working in space tech, or even like in any niche field, like even gene editing or something, they don't generally consider a master's student.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think an aerospace engineer, let me ask you this question. Do you think if you have an aerospace degree, you can only work for aerospace company? You can't work for GM or Tesla or for any other companies?
You can. I mean, yes.
That's it. That's the
But
answer.
then,
The reason why
alright.
the reason why I'm saying that, let me tell you. I was not making joke of your question. It's a very good question, actually. The reason why, so all of you guys have to understand one thing, and what I understood from my career. The department should not label you where you want to go for a job. Your job is based on what skill set you have. The department label has nothing to do with it. What are you good at? Are you good at? So when you went to do aerospace engineering, let's say, what did you learn the best? Did you learn the fluid dynamics? Did you learn the thermodynamics best? What did you learn? Definitely, they don't train you how to make a Boeing aircraft. Nobody does that. So what are you good at? What topics interest you? And if thermodynamics interest you, why can't you work for a nuclear power plant? Why can't you work for a thermal power plant? Why can't you work for an automotive company? Because they need a thermodynamics engineer. I just told you, if you're good in fluid dynamics, you can go to work in a fertilizer company. My point here is, your degree has nothing to do where you want to go for a job. That's what I said again and again. Figure out what are you good at. And for example, again, I will tell you, do you think I work for Lockheed Space? I'm designing these spacecrafts? Hell no. I'm playing a very small part of what I know. Right? So your problem can be interesting. And there are a lot of interesting problems out there, just not in aerospace or a space company. And to be honest with you, who want to work for an aerospace company? They are already bankrupt. Right? They're going to, I mean, last COVID, look at how many people got fired from which industry. Aerospace was #1. So my point here is, don't get biased with that. Do what you are good at, and you can apply that knowledge in anywhere, in ExxonMobil, in General Motors, in Tesla. It doesn't matter. That IITR is going to stop you no matter what, because that's a rule, but that should not define what you want to do. So for example, you can work for Facebook, to be honest with you. They are looking for a lot of hardware company because they have to run their servers like crazy. The thermal problem in servers is like anything. They're becoming bigger and bigger, more hotter. So who's going to do that job? Who's going to do that job? So that's what I'm saying. That should not define your interest. You can always have to figure it out. You can always find an interest. Yeah, you have an interest in working for a space company. That's separate. That will come once you that IITR rule doesn't apply to you, just like it came to me when it doesn't apply to me. But when I graduated, there's no way I could have worked for Lockheed. They wouldn't hire me because of I didn't know anything about space. That's one thing. But second thing is I was an Indian citizen. So it only came once I overcome that problem. Understand? So, don't restrict yourself. And the same thing can happen in India also, to be honest. Like, for example, you are in, I know this problem because so we are in mining engineering, right? And or for that lady I talked about, she became the CEO, Nandita Sinha. She was a ceramic engineer. Do you think the mantra is going to hire a CEO who's a ceramic engineer? How did she overcome that problem? Right? So, figure that out. You are smart enough.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Someone here wants to ask that while working towards space technology and space exploration, they're actually exploiting a lot of natural resources of the Earth itself. So many countries aren't really focused on that, and they're focused mainly on the space development. So would you like to comment on that?
We're exploring a lot of resources. So when they say exploiting a lot of resources, what do you mean? I want to know that before I answer that question, because I mean, what do you mean by exploiting of resources?
I think the person they wanted to emphasize on global warming, I think, as a phenomena. So regarding that,
but, yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand one thing. If you go to the history, right, why US became superpower? Because it generated a lot of energy, and by doing so, it created a lot of pollution. And now China and India are coming up. How would you do it? They're gonna do it. Is it fair to tell them that now you can't do? So what I'm saying is, I'm trying to tell you is, it's a global responsibility now, and I think everybody is doing its own part. Look at the coal crisis right now. I can tell you an example. Germany decided that they want to go all renewable. What happened to their grid structure? It failed completely. So my point here, it takes time. But the good news is, I can tell you for sure, the generation that is coming up, like you guys, like my 6-year-old daughter, they hate the idea of global warming. I think that idea is much more important, because that's what is going to drive the next electric car. I mean, look at the companies. So the customer behavior is reflected by companies. So you can't tell a company, don't do that or don't do this. But if you look at now companies like GM or anyone, everybody's saying we're going to design electric cars, because they know consumer wants electric car now, because they are very aware of the pollution part of it. So it will happen, but it is happening already. Every company has its own goal on carbon emission now. So it's going to take time, but it will happen. And I have seen changes, to be honest with you, in people's mindset and how people react and how they behave. So
someone wants to ask the role or scope of AI in space tech or exploration.
I think it's a very trivial question. I can answer very huge role, but doesn't mean that's a simple answer. But as I said to you initially, when I was talking about statistics, no matter what engineer you are, no matter whom you are, whether you want to work for a news company, or you want to work for defense, or you want to work as a journalist, or you want to work as a marketing person, a finance guru, an engineer, whatever, the next generation of those people who are going to make decisions are not humans, are AI. And that's why it is very important, because they can make a decision between unknown and unknowns. Physics have answer for known and known, right? Force is equal to ma. So if you know the force and mass, you know the acceleration. But how about the color of the ball and acceleration? You don't know, right? Unknown. Maybe AI knows that. So.
Right. So another interesting question is, as we are being fed through pop culture, the space thrill that is being fed through pop culture, we see that there's a possibility of the existence of a multiverse. So what is the view of the space industry on the origin of universe, the expansion, compression of universe with time, and considering the existence of multiverse?
You have to ask that question with a physicist, to be honest with you. I'm not a physicist. I have the same knowledge as you guys, but yeah, I mean, human imagination can go anywhere, to be honest with you. And we look at Einstein theory of relativity and a lot of scientists who are working in these particular topics, they talk about parallel universe and all that. So I can't really answer that question, but to me, this is not a topic which is fascinating. That's all I can say. But I personally don't have any answer for that.
Right. So someone wants to know how can they connect with you in the future, like if they have any queries or something.
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would say I would urge also every one of you who are there, make sure you guys have your LinkedIn account. I often tell as much as you guys do love to use Instagram and TikTok or whatever platform you use, try to use LinkedIn much more than anything. If you open Instagram every minute, try to open LinkedIn at least once a day. It's going to help you tremendously to connect with people of your like mindset, of your things you are doing it. I learned a lot of things from LinkedIn, what people are doing, because that's one platform that is very focused on career and science and engineering, whatever you call it, and not so about people looks and what stupid things they are doing. So try to use LinkedIn. I'm in LinkedIn. Try to connect me with that. If you have your own questions about your own career, shoot me an email. I think Yashika or Shubhangi have my emails. You can get from there, or I can put this in a chat box too. But that's the best way to.
Yes, so you can put it in the chat box.
Yeah, but that's the best way to get connected with me, other than anything. Shubhangi, is there? You're on mute, I think. Is there any other question?
No, sir, there aren't any more questions. And it was really interesting. We'd like to thank you for taking out time for us, sharing your valuable knowledge. And I'm sure the takeaways would be beneficial for many. Once again, thank you so much for this amazing session and clearing all our doubts.
No, thank you. Thank you, everyone who were there and asking those questions. As I said, I'm very sure that you guys all are very smart. But if I have to give you a couple of takeaways from here. One is find a mentor. Find. If you want to excel in your career, it's going to help you tremendously. And the second one is, don't judge yourself too much. I'm pretty sure you are good enough, whatever you are doing, and you all will do very, very well. 15 years down the road, you will be one of those people doing the same thing as I'm doing here. So good luck and keep in touch.
Thank you so much, sir. And
yeah,
thank you to everyone who joined for the session today. It was a really interesting session.